Rev, today I wanted to talk about how we both got the first gigs or first set of gigs that we have ever gotten as DJs. We've been getting some questions from some newer DJs about, hey, how'd you get your start, or how do I do it? And so I would ask you, like, how'd you get going? Like,
Okay.
what'd you do?
Yeah, so first I got my gear, dialed all that in, made sure it sounded good, kind of knew what my setup was going to be. And then I kind of taught myself Photoshop.
Okay.
I downloaded
I
like
did not
a
think you were
very
gonna say
illegal
Photoshop.
version of Photoshop and used it to make some business cards. And there's websites you can make
Sure.
free business cards, but you want to have that to hand out to people. And then I had a pretty basic contract that would go over start and end time, the date of when they want me to DJ, the location, and how much I was getting paid. I think when I started, it was probably like $75 an hour or something. And
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was decent for a
17-year-old,
17-year-old.
Come on, dude. My kids don't make $75 an hour right now.
Yeah. And then I was kind of focusing on school dances and birthday parties. So I would just hit up my friends. I would go to all the local schools in my area and find out which teacher was in charge of the dances. And give her my card and be like, hey, I'm doing this. And sometimes it would be like a school that I went to, so they would already know me. And they're like, sure, yeah, we'll book you. Like, and then figure out the dates.
So in the early days, you were grinding on that, like, networking, and you just,
it was before really social media, so you had to go meet people face to face and kind of pitch it that way.
I started thinking back, like, where would we, Ozark Mix, we be without social media? And I don't even know, man.
It was like, I think I had an ad in a telephone book. I'm serious.
Yeah, believe
my
you.
parents helped me set it up, and it was, however much to get that. There was a DJ section of the phone book.
Oh my gosh, dude. If you had a phone book that still had yours in it,
I know.
that would be so cool.
I wouldn't be surprised if my mom had it somewhere.
That would be so cool. Okay. So, the way that I started was just, I think I've told this story already, but I was asked by a wedding coordinator if I would be a wedding DJ. And, but then at that point it was like, okay, if we're going to make a run at this, like, I got to do something outside of just knowing Brooke.
Yeah.
So, in the early days, we advertised on a platform that will remain nameless because it's not all that awesome right now. But we advertised on a platform, and that really got us in front of a bunch of people. And we were doing this in 2020, so the social media was there, all that was there. And so I was able to get on Zoom calls with people and, like, talk to planners, talk to couples, and kind of that's how things have been built. But, a couple of weeks ago, I did a podcast for how do you get involved in, the wedding scene and the private event scene. And I think for me, in that regard, I just really encourage new DJs to begin to find out who owns the venue, who's booking stuff at the venue, and that's your audience.
I think going out and meeting people face to face is a big part of it. You want to have some business cards that you can give them.
Yes.
One thing I used to do was record a mix of me DJing and then burn a CD, and you don't really have that anymore. So if you have a website like Mixcloud,
right.
You can put your mixes up on there and have a little, you could even do like a QR code or the link on your business card and be like, if you want to hear what I do, go to this Mixcloud page and people can hear it. And I think Instagram is a big, big part of it. TikTok, make little videos of you doing stuff, even if it's just basic mashups or, vocals over instrumental, something to put out there that people see, oh, this sounds good, and they can see what you're doing.
Yeah, dude, I had this gentleman reach out about 2 weeks ago after our one of our podcasts and ask, one of these questions like, how do you get gigs? And he's like, I'm hustling. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm hustling. And honestly, dude, I went to his Instagram profile and there was not one video, photo, anything
No
that
posts?
would indicate that this dude is a DJ.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, actually, I sent him back a message. I was like, the first thing that you want to make sure that you do is actually tell people that you're a DJ.
Yeah, that's crucial.
It's like, hey, from looking at your social media profile, I would not gather that you are the DJ that you say that you are.
Yeah.
And so man, in today's age that we live in, I just don't see how you could sleep on be it like showing what you do on social media.
Yeah. And I think, most of the time, if we're talking to beginner DJs, we're thinking it's younger people, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's someone, in their 50s or whatever that's getting into it, and they haven't had as much exposure to social media.
Right.
And you just got to dive into it and learn it. And if you have like some younger kids, have them show you what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's a very important part.
Well, I mean, even in that regard, it's like just today we've tried out like multiple things. We shot a couple. We shot a YouTube video before we were here, and like we didn't know what we were doing in that in that arena. And then at the end of it, we scratched it and went back to kind of what we did know. But we're not afraid to like try, and I think that's what a lot of people don't do is they. Especially like generationally, I'm watching this sort of happen, is that you get a little bit of like a wall and people don't push through to really land the gig that they would love to have. And really what you and I would advise to people like that is like, you just have to keep trying.
Yeah.
You can't just stop, doing what you're doing. Like, you're never going to succeed in life or as a DJ if you just sort of take a wall or take a no or take some criticism and not do something with it.
Keep it pushing.
Yeah. I mean, when you first started out and it was early, did you get club owners like giving you feedback or like what was that like?
So the first places that I played in Dallas, I was kind of in this mindset of it's very different music taste that was in Arkansas as opposed to the Dallas scene. So I had to adjust a little bit, and it changes over time.
Yeah.
Like there was a big portion of time where dubstep was really popular.
Right.
And like I was into it and I would play it, and I had club owners come up to me and be like, "What is this garbage coming out of my speakers?" So I had to dial it back a little bit. But then there was people that wanted to hear it in the crowd. They knew it, like Skrillex blew up.
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, play that new Skrillex or whatever." So yeah, you kind of got to follow what the venue or club owner wants for their crowd and kind of cater it that way. And they'll tell you, this is what we want. And you kind of just stick to that and then put your own little flair to it. Yeah. So
yeah, I got some feedback, my first probably 20, 25 weddings or private parties. My first 3 were with Brooke. So she's a person who will give me, constructive criticism, and she's very honest. And I took a lot of that and built out the systems and things that we do now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you can't get your feelings hurt if somebody is giving you some feedback that maybe you don't like or you could potentially disagree with.
Yep.
It's like you just have to keep getting better as a DJ and move forward. And that's to me, that's the way that you win people over.
Yeah.
All too often, I talked to 2 DJs in our office this week, and one of them is just like, doesn't want to like be flexible. And I'm like, this is why you're on the path that you're on. This is why we differ from one another because you just have to be flexible and not get your feelings hurt when the client or the club owner or the wedding planner wants something a little bit different.
Yep.
You got to adjust.
Yep.
And I just can't stress that enough to our team, to DJs that ask me questions all the time. It's like, how are y'all kind of doing your thing and growing? I'm like, it's because we asked our client what they wanted.
Yeah.
And we really try to stick to it.
Yeah. And I think a big key to all of that is when you're communicating with these, let's say you working with a wedding venue,
Mm-hmm.
if you can make that communication process and planning as smooth and
Mm-hmm.
stress-free as possible, whether that's some kind of, what do you call it? CRM,
CRM.
interface
Mm-hmm.
that you're using. Like we use Honeybook,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is great.
Yeah.
I don't have that much exposure to that technology. That's more your field.
Right.
But it takes care of a ton of work on the back end, and it gives those wedding planners or vendors an easy route to just navigate what we offer.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we do it. It's all up in your face. And anybody that's wanting to see what we offer as a DJ company can just go on there, and it's not an issue.
Yeah. You know, it's like the way that people could get more gigs is to make it easy for people to book you.
Yeah.
You know? And we talked even early on, and something that we've done with you is like, you now have this link in bio situation on your Instagram. You physically, somebody comes up to the booth at your club and is like, hey, how do I book you for my wedding? You just go see my Instagram. It's right there.
Yeah.
You know? So often people are like, yo, just hit me with this QR code and then email me and then shoot me a text.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I'll send you this thing and then we'll talk.
It's too
Dude,
much.
it's just too much. And
Yeah.
so what the biggest way to fight that is to make it easy for people to interact with you. And, you know, our system's not perfect, but dang, you know, when early on, I was emailing people proposals and all that stuff, and I've learned really fast. I was like, dude, I do not have time for this.
Yeah.
And customers either wouldn't get back to me or the venue owner wouldn't get back to me. And it was because like we were just swapping and it was this time thing. But once we moved to the platform where they like see what we do, they see the pricing, and then they can interact and book right away.
Yeah.
Dude, that's when things just went took
Yep.
off, and now our schedule's full.
Yep.
So it's an easier thing. And again, we've talked about this a bunch on our podcast. It's like so often DJs want to cheap out, they want to do the cheap thing and not like invest in a little bit. But man, I mean, we pay $40 a month for Honeybook. Rev, I would pay $400.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, you know, just
Yeah.
because of the way that it is. So it's super cool.
Yeah.
What are like, so if you were to want to, let's say you were kind of doing it over again and you wanted to move from sort of club and into private event, what would be the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Probably make sure that you know what you're doing, but know how to mix, know how to work the microphone, have all that stuff pretty down pat before you step out into those waters. And then, like I was saying, you want to find, the internet is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So search locally. If you're wanting to do a lot of weddings, find out what the most popular wedding venue is. Call them up and be like, hey, can I just come sit and talk with you for like 20 minutes?
Yeah.
And you got to build the relationship there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I would do that to every major wedding venue. Like whatever you're trying to play out in the public, meet those people and hit them up and get your business card in their hands.
Mm-hmm. And make it easy for people to interact with you. And for heaven's sake, please post videos about yourself.
Yeah.
Like the other thing, this is just a pro tip for people. Something that we've been doing is our YouTube channel really helps us generate leads because obviously YouTube is tied to Google. They're the same company. And What I do is I'll take our shorts, the things that we're kind of clipping up, and I will title them in a much different way.
Yeah.
I will title them as Best Arkansas DJ Service. And it could be you cutting up something, or Rodney or myself introducing whatever. And in the description, I write about us and I link up our website. Well, what happens is when you go to Google and you type Best Arkansas DJ Service,
Right.
and you click on videos, we overwhelm the front page.
Yeah.
And that helps move us into, ranking higher on Google.
Yeah.
And people sleep on that, dude.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to use it. Or even the same, like what I am noticing now, like Instagram and Facebook, they're doing the same thing. Like their SEO is helping people rank.
Yep.
And so even in your Facebook, in your Instagram, the title of your post, the first couple of lines of your post, it has to point to what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you're a Dallas DJ and you're not putting Dallas DJ does whatever mix in your description, you're missing out on some stuff.
And something I used to do a few times is if I was playing out at a venue, I would record my set live.
Yeah.
And then put it on Mixcloud. And then in the title, I would say, DJ Rev live mix, the venue, whatever the place is, and the date, so people can be like, oh, this was back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he was playing. I like this. He's probably playing good stuff now. And you just keep, it's easy. You're already out mixing somewhere. Just hit record. It may be like, you could cut it down to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Put that on Mixcloud, and then you're just building that content. And I kind of look at the internet, they call it the web, because it's like a spider web.
Yeah,
let's say your business is in the middle of this spider web and you got all this stuff out here. You got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and it's all feeding back to that center. And you want to phrase things like everything needs to be about your branding, whatever your company name is, like ours, Ozark Mix. Everything, Ozark Mix, Ozark Mix. Every channel, every pathway just leads back. And it's mainly going to our website where people are booking through that. And that links into the Honeybook. So you just got to have all those little connections in place to where it's easy for people to find out how to book you.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, and I think the thing about it is it's like, we're not spitting game that we're not doing and that we haven't tried over and over and over. If you go to our YouTube channel, I was counting it up, Rev, I think we have almost 300 videos up there.
Yeah.
Like, and we're just now, year 4, seeing like crazy amount of traction. So like it takes work.
Yeah.
And people don't understand when you're building a business, when you're building your own DJ company, like it is not going to happen for you overnight.
Yeah.
Like I'm so proud to know people like Eric Rhodes, Justin Stringfellow, the guy, Dom, those guys from LaForce.
Oh yeah.
Bro, I saw those guys and their setups when I first started, and they are grinders, dude.
Yeah.
Like they are putting so much content out, and I'm so proud to know them and know who they are. Because dude, it's so inspiring to see that they're doing it. But then I talk to DJs locally or via Instagram or whatever, and they throw shade, and I'm like, hey,
on that company,
yeah, and they throw shade, and I'm like, I don't see you out there like doing your thing, like, or they are just like, I could do that. I'm like, well, why don't you do it?
Yeah,
like. What it is they want some overnight success, and they look at guys like that have 2 million followers on TikTok, and they're like, I could do that, but then they don't put the work in, but then they start crying about how they don't have gigs and all this stuff. And I'm like, look, you got to reverse engineer your life here, and this is what you got to put in to get.
And you don't have to make it complicated.
No,
if you're out DJing somewhere, just take some videos, or have your girlfriend or your friend come with your phone and just record a little bit every time you're making content.
That's it.
And it gives you something. It gives people to watch, gives something people to watch, so it's not hard.
We're starting to do a lot more content, stuff now. What have you seen that do for your own like personal brand and platform? And because, you know, when we first met, like you were like Instagram had like done something crazy to you. You were having to redo all that.
Oh yeah.
And so
I got hacked.
Yeah. And so you've been kind of constantly building this up over the last like year and a half. But what have you seen that do? You know, talk about what we do and what you've been doing and that sort of thing.
So one cool thing is like if I do a wedding, normally the bride especially will follow me. And then if I upload some video or a little part of that wedding, you know, they chime in, they're like, this is the best night ever. Like you were so great. So it lets other people see, oh wow, this is the bride and she's giving credit saying it was a good time. So people will check those comments and like read through stuff if they're interested in booking you as a DJ. So all those little things add up and it might push someone to book you if they see that comment that's like best night of my life or whatever. So once again, it's just relationships and putting stuff out there. But I think that's cool to connect with the actual couple, you know, later on and have them interact with you on social media.
Yeah. And dude, like countless times, you know, I do all of our sales calls for all of our DJs, and you know, I'll have people talk and they'll say, well, is Rev available? Because, you know, we've followed him on Instagram and we see him. You know, that's one thing that they do. Or it'll be, you know, hey, we work as a team. You know, Jonathan's available. I'm going to go ahead and send you a link to a couple of his videos, or I'm going to send you a link to Instagram and you can decide if that's what you want to do. Bro, it don't take 30 seconds. Like they go and they you know, email me right back. They're like, absolutely, we're ready to go. Can we pay the retainer?
Yeah.
And what if you didn't have that?
Yeah.
You know
they might
mean?
pass on you and go somewhere else or I mean, everyone's putting out content now, so you have to do it. It's just part of the job.
So our advice to people is get to know who's making decisions, get to know people in your area that are booking events at the venue that you want to be at. It doesn't have to be a wedding. Maybe it's a club. Maybe it's a private party situation.
Yeah.
But you got to know who they are.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing, you know, a birthday party at someone's house. Yeah. Like there's got to be DJs that do that. And if you're 100%. Starting out, you know, that's an easy gig. Get your name out. People will come up to you and ask for a business card and be like, hey, I got this coming up in a couple months. Are you available? And you just got to build it organically that way.
It's like you got a relationship with this like apartment complex, and you were doing pool parties for them in the summertime. And
so let me tell this story. This is how I got that contact with them. Is I kind of dabble into gardening, farming, agriculture.
Okay.
And so when I moved up to Bentonville, we moved back here, they did in the wintertime an indoor farmers market.
Okay.
And I went up there just to check it out because I wanted to see what they were selling and all this. And there was no music at all. It was in the record.
Oh gosh,
up there,
which needs music.
Yeah, I mean, and they have it built in like house sound system.
Yeah,
and I'm walking around. I'm like, people are talking. You know, they're getting coffee, and I was like, if there was just some background vibe music, it doesn't have to be like anything crazy. So I approached the lady who coordinates the farmers market, and I was like, hey, I'd be down to DJ this for free, and I just want to hand out business cards. And she was like, yeah, can you come do this date in like 2 weeks? And I was like, yeah, I'll be here. So I did that. And on my little table, I put out all my business cards. And there was probably 8 people that came by and grabbed one.
See?
And one of them was this apartment complex that wanted to have a DJ for pool parties during the summer. And I do up to like 5 or 6 gigs every summer just for them.
And what do you charge for those gigs?
$600. Yeah.
So $3,000. So 0, 1 performance turned now into $3,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And it's like just making that sacrifice of DJing for free to promote yourself. Cause I knew there was going to be a lot of people there.
Well, yeah.
It's already ready to go. They needed music and they loved it. They were like, we want you to come back like all the time. And I'm still I'm doing it this Saturday.
See?
Yeah. And I'll hand out more business
That's
cards.
right. Yeah. And you'll get more. Like
Yeah.
that's just how it works. So, man, that's a great story. I love that.
I wanted to ask you, this is a portion of like wedding DJ world that I've never dabbled in, but you were at a wedding open house kind of vendor. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
But
like a
where like
showcase.
everyone comes, and a bunch of upcoming couples or, brides come through to check out your services. And it's like everything, food vendors, photographers, DJs, all that stuff. Like, how do you think that's worth going to? Because I never wanted to do it. I feel like there's kind of the vibe I get for it is people are coming there looking for cheaper deals from DJs, and they want you to like discount, like, oh, if I book with you now, can you give me this cheaper rate?
Yeah.
Is that how you feel about it, or you think it's worth it?
So when we first started, I have two ways to answer that. When we first started, I did some open houses at venues that just offer a little different value, right? For couples. And we still, we love those relationships, and we send teams over there, and it's amazing. But even at the beginning of that, it felt weird. It felt like I had this table, and it was like pick me kind of thing. And it was kind of awkward. And I was playing some music, and I had our setup, and but inevitably, Rev, I would always book one or two.
Yeah.
And then it started to where we were more established, and we had some venues reach out and say, hey, Russ, can you come and MC our open house?
Oh, cool.
And so I did that once or twice, but what I didn't realize is I would be working the whole time, and I wouldn't be able to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So those were less productive for me, but I got to showcase in front of everybody my MC skill.
Yep.
And my mix skill. And that inevitably led to planners who were there trust us to go, and they saw our setup. So there was a piece to that I didn't really pay attention to, that they got to see us perform. Here's what I do now, and what I did on Sunday is I really only, and if we had teams that were available, I might send out some teams and coach them on what to say. But here's what I've done the last couple of years is I'll go and do these open houses. I'll bring a small sample of our setups just so that I can show people what we do.
Yeah.
And I will tell the venue that I'm not performing. I'll play some music, but I'm not performing, so I can be at our table. And Rev, I booked 6 on Sunday.
Wow.
So the venue that we're at, though, is I know the pricing structure is on the higher end here. So they're already thinking they're spending that amount of money. And I actually, to sort of kind of aid in the thing, is I will say, hey, since you're at this open house, I've got a special that I'm doing for this open house in particular.
Nice.
Go ahead and send us an inquiry right now. Here's the QR code.
Yeah.
Boom. And I had like our photo booth set up with the QR code front face.
Yeah.
I had QR codes kind of there that everybody could see. And the first page that they go to is inquire about your day.
Yeah.
And so
you snag an email address right away, and you can be in touch with them.
That's right. I'll just strike up a conversation with them. Hey, what are you doing? My name's Russ. When's your wedding? What's going on? Like, you just want to be, inquisitive about what they got going on. Don't try to sell them right away.
So when you're at the open house, you're not back there like mixing and doing stuff. You're out talking to people that are walking around and trying to get them.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm just standing in front of the booth. They had a couple of chairs. I was sitting in the chairs, and I'm just sitting there. And it was, you know, sometimes it's really busy. There's lots of people walking around, but this one was low key on Sunday, and
Yeah.
you know, it'd be one every 10 minutes.
That's
And
cool.
I'd get to talk to them, you know, and usually they have their family with them. Their dad's there, their mom's there, or whoever. Usually it's the point person who's paying for it's there.
Sometimes those people are the key
That's-
decision makers. So
That's exactly
you
right.
chat it up with dad a little bit.
That's
and
right.
Yeah,
It's
he's like,
kinda
let's go
like-
with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit that what I think, you know, DJs sleep on is to do what we do, and to do what we do on a consistent basis, you have to sell.
Yeah.
You have to sell yourself. So if you can learn just some little nuances in the sales process and get psychologically dialed in, man, I mean, it really can help your business grow.
Yeah.
And like, don't turn down opportunities to be in front of people.
Yep.
You know, there's a guy that I really love and respect. His name's Neo Davis, and he coaches just like, man, you got to be in front of everybody. So he's actually coaches people on how to occupy, like rent out their event space. And Neo would be like, hey, twice a month, do something for free for the public and let them come through so they can see your space. It can only be for an hour. Like, you could just open it up for an hour, free hour, whatever. But at least now they know you're around. And the next time they need a birthday party space, they're going to call you.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
it's the same thing with DJ work, man.
So when you do the open house and there's another DJ there, do y'all ever get into like sound battle mode where it's like, oh, I'm going to turn my volume up louder?
Yeah.
That's what I'm always curious
Yeah,
about
no.
when you have several DJs in a room.
I've not encountered. I had one time I was at an open house, and there was another DJ there, and because we had decided to go the sort of higher end, higher tier, you know, audio route, custom booth route. I will say we looked a lot better and sounded a lot better. I'm really not trying to be that way, but it was a little eclipsing, you know. And so, but
I bet there was a gig bar somewhere.
There was definitely a gig bar, and some drapery in places that we would definitely not.
The scrims.
We would definitely not recommend.
Yeah.
But you know, that was after like year 2, and so I'd kind of gotten my act together. Now, if I'd have been there before, we'd have probably looked real close to the same. But the biggest thing now is like when we're there for photo booth, there's always a couple other photo booth people.
Oh yeah.
You know, and everybody's got the same photo booth these days. So that it's, you know, you just have to figure out like how you do differentiate yourself and how do you differentiate your company. And I think for the most part, we're conversational people. We're down to earth people. All of our teams are super authentic and down to earth. And we just try to put off that vibe and just help people understand, like, we're really there so that your event can go amazingly.
Yep.
You know, and man, I don't know. It's fun, dude. I love what we do.
Yeah,
for sure.
Me too.
Well, Rev, I'm excited about the next couple of months. I think, you know, we worked on one today. We're going to start putting out some more instructional videos. We want to encourage people to just go like and subscribe to the channel. We're really loving it. We're going to keep it going. Hopefully after this episode, we'll have audio up on all platforms, Spotify. I know I've been promising that, but I promise you it's coming.
Yeah.
But dude, until next time, we'll see y'all, and y'all go do what you got to do.
Yep. See ya.